Hi, welcome to a typical homeschool day, then and now. The reason we are going to do it then and now is that we have changed a lot of things about how we homeschool. I believe we've gotten more relaxed. And it's such a common question that we want to dedicate a whole video to it. So when we started homeschooling, I think we did what most homeschool moms do, and that is try to recreate school at home. We didn't go as far as buying desks, but we did get workbooks for every subject and every grade level. And then I got pregnant again and got tired and decided to combine some things. So I had a toddler, a bun in the oven, and 3 girls that were kindergarten to 4th grade. And that's when we combined Bible stories and Bible study, actually reading out of the Bible every day. And then we combined things like a geography lesson or spelling tests. We would have like a spelling test time, and each girl would have their separate spelling lists. We would combine history, and I loved reading children's biographies, mainly children's versions of biographies of like Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin. And I would read those out loud to the girls because honestly, I really enjoyed learning about people myself because I love true stories and biographies. Anything that I could combine, I did because I liked the together time, but it was mostly done sitting on the couch, laying on the carpet, bean bags, very relaxed. So we never did desks, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I didn't have a school room just from lack of space. But the girls had their backpacks and with their individual things that they did. And they were pretty loaded down because we had something for each subject: language arts, history, geography, science, math, and so on. We quickly combined, and I would say we never finished a lot of workbooks because we started to cover a lot of subject matter in just reading and allowing them to pick what books they wanted from the library and just reading about famous people, famous events. And we found that each girl had their own interests. As young as 8, 9, 10, 11, they were very much already decided because of their personalities and gifts and talents and what they wanted. One book, for instance, that Serena really wanted to read, knowing she wanted to be a doctor, was Gifted Hands, Dr. Carson's story. Rosanna would spend most of her free time drawing, and we had to give her the time to do that. Reluctantly at first, but I was encouraged by my husband to just let her do as much as she wanted. And then Hannah really liked math. She liked doubling her math lessons. Sometimes she would say, "Can I work ahead in math so I don't have to do it tomorrow?" But she was always ahead, and that's how she finished so quickly and outdid me so quickly. She loved creation science books and reading about creation scientists because she felt at a very young age like that was science that she wanted to learn about because she could have faith that it was something that was supported biblically. Of course, she read about secular scientists, of course, but reading about Newton's laws and theories and knowing that he had a faith in God, she loved finding that out and sharing that. And then when Heath came up, he liked to read fiction, and that wasn't one of my things, but it was definitely something that he liked. And so he ended up being an English major, and we tried to give him lots of free time to read what he wanted. Keith came along, and he liked music, and I say that he was our first real musical child, and my husband and I don't really, I've never had any formal music training. So we gave him enough time to do violin lessons in the beginning, which went on to the clarinet and keyboard. So when they were very young, they basically had checklists, and if they would cover the 4 main things that we talk in our book, which is Bible and character building, doing math every day, because you kind of have to build on that, writing every day, and they would get to choose if their writing was a formal essay, or just writing in their journal, or writing letters to family members. We were pretty open to whatever they wanted to write. And certainly if they were interested in something, they could research it. And in the beginning, we didn't do a lot of internet research. It was mainly going to the library. But with the later kids, of course, everything's on the internet now. So, but we did have to teach them the difference between, just a .com website and a credible source. Towards we kind of call them the second batch of kids, even though they are spaced out between 2.5, 3 years apart. The younger kids, their curriculum got really streamlined because we realized that they could take the ACT at 10.5 and not wait as long as the older ones did, and even that they could dual enroll at 10.5 or 11, depending on how their personalities were, if we felt like they had emotional intelligence to do that. So Katrina took English 101 at 10.5. Seth took a prerequisite English class at 10.5. It might have been right at 11. I'd have to look back, but they were pretty young. But before that, our focus with the younger ones is really prepping for the ACT or SAT. And we saw the ACT and SAT as almost a graduation test or a proficiency exam. Once they were taking practice tests at home, so if their scores were around 17 or 18, they would get a conditional acceptance. As long as their grades were good, then they could continue to attend. So that's when they did graduate younger, because then a typical day would be, again, Bible study for character building. But the math was mainly out of their SCT books, not so much math curriculum, but really aiming to get a minimal score or reaching a minimum score on those exams. And so whatever they didn't understand, then we would either go to YouTube or Khan Academy to learn the concept. So instead of trying to take the time to finish curriculum, it was getting their math towards, some would say, teaching to the test. And I know some people look down on that, but quite honestly, we knew that once they did go to college, it was going to be kind of a review if they did college algebra or the prerequisite to that. So we just made sure that they met the high school minimums to graduate, and the ACT or SAT score is pretty telling. That lets you know where your child is at. And then, of course, there's reading exercises in those review books, and there's also language arts, grammar type questions. And anytime that they didn't understand something or they're getting something consistently wrong, then we would take that opportunity to teach them what they're not getting. So it's kind of like reverse engineering. We would use the exam to find out what we needed to teach them, what more instruction they needed in what area. And once they did that a couple hours a day, then they would let us know, oh, I'm tired of doing this, or I want to keep going, or I need to take a break and maybe continue after lunchtime. But we weren't on a time schedule. It was mainly that checklist. Again, doing Bible, doing some math, doing those language arts and reading questions and reviews, and then just writing for the flow of it, because some of our kids had to write essays for those exams. Some of them took the ACT with the no writing option, but yet we wanted to make sure that to consider them high school graduates, that they had completed at least a 5-paragraph essay and knew how to do a basic research paper, and that they knew how to find sources and how to cite them. And in the beginning, we had to teach them how to do either an APA, MLA type of reference format, but very quickly they taught us, no, Mom, you don't have to do that anymore. You can use citation machine.net or any other kind of website that helps you format that. So it became increasingly easier using their laptops, using the tools that Microsoft offers with correcting their grammar and their spelling. So their learning curves for writing were like, because we weren't doing it like we were in the beginning, where it was just me correcting every little word, every little spelling, every little grammar problem. It was pretty much automated. And now the kids are telling me they use Grammarly. I haven't used it. I don't know how it works, but I know that there's always new things out there for the future generations that are going to make it so much easier for parents to homeschool. And the science and the history, I've said before, was mainly through reading, and we did not do really any testing. Their first, well, in the beginning, I'll go back then, we lived in states where they did have to do standardized tests. Fortunately for us, I either had a homeschool mom friend that had a college degree that was able to give the exam, like at our kitchen table, or my husband with his college degree was able to supervise that. We didn't live or have not lived in any states where we were required to go in for any kind of testing. Of course, if that is your case, then you need to be prepared for that test. And I would advise anyone to make that a big part of your curriculum. Again, you might be criticized for teaching to the test. I'll just leave that there. That's up to everyone, what they think about that. But definitely, if you are homeschooling in a state where it's required, I would dedicate part of your day to teach to that test to make sure that they do well. They do that in public school. They allow time for review, or at least they did when I was in school, so I don't see anything wrong with that. However, in high school, I did not take any kind of courses, and I don't remember having any time to really prep me for the ACT or the SAT is what I took in California, and I don't understand why not. We put that on our kids' transcripts, ACT prep or SAT prep, and take time out every day to prepare for that. And I'll say it again, we do not send the scores directly to the institutions. We want to see what they are first, and once they get an acceptable score, then we pay the extra fee to have it sent to the universities. So that's it became a bigger part of our day with the younger set of kids, because we just saw that is really what universities are looking for. And I don't know what other subjects I'm missing. Any extracurricular interests that your kids have, make it part of their reading and writing. So maybe that's too broad. If you have any specific questions, please email them to me, and I would love to address them in our next Q&A video. Please like and subscribe and share this with your friends. Thank you, and God bless you.